Good morning, everyone. So today we'll be discussing about another chapter from genetics, that is the principles of inheritance and variations. So see the exclusive accolade of the living organisms is that the living organisms will give birth to their own kinds. Okay, like we people, we the human beings, we are going to reproduce human only. We are not going to reproduce any other organism. Generally we'll call it as ghade ka bachcha, ullu ka patta, and all these are all just faces. Practically, in practical, it is not going to happen, it will never going to happen also. So it is exclusively we are going to reproduce our own kinds. Okay, for example, an elephant will give rise to an elephant only. A tiger will give rise to a tiger only. We the humans will give rise to humans only. Like that only, even the plants, they'll give rise to their own kind. Okay, a neem plant is not going to reproduce to a mango. Yes or no? So that is what it is, the exclusive process where the living organisms will be reproducing their own kinds. Now the question arises, why it's so? Why it is like that? Why can't we give rise to any other form? It is because of heredity. It is because of heredity that we are not going we are we can't we will not give rise to any other form. We'll be giving rise to our own kind. Okay, now what is this heredity? Heredity is the transfer of genetical characters from one generation to another generation. Okay, what is heredity? It is the transfer of characters. It is the transfer of characters, genetical characters, okay, which will get transferred from it will get transferred from one generation will get transfer from one generation to another generation. Okay, this is what we'll call it as heredity. Okay, as the organisms are reproducing their own kinds, all the organisms, whatsoever the organisms are there on the planet, you go with the unicellular organism, you go with the multicellular organism, you take the animals, you take the plants, whatsoever the living organisms are there, if they are reproducing, means they will reproduce their own kinds. That is because of the transfer of characters from one generation to another generation, and that process is called as heredity. Okay, what is that process called as? It is called as heredity. Transfer of characters will be there from one generation to another generation. From one generation, in the sense, from parents to the offsprings. Here offsprings means the children. Okay, so the characters will get transferred from the parents to their children. That is what the offsprings, and this is nothing but the heredity. And the process of transfer of these hereditary is called as inheritance. What it is called as? It is called as inheritance. Okay, the transfer of characters from one generation to another generation is the heredity, and the process of this heredity or the process of this transfer is called as inheritance. And that is the reason we will be similar to our parents. Okay, that is the reason we will be similar to our generation. All the characters will get transferred, okay, from the parents to the offsprings. At the same time, we the individuals, we are not totally similar also. Yes, we are not totally similar. Yes, like either you go with physical appearance or you go with mental ability or the emotional ability. If we are taking, we are not exactly similar, but at the same time we are similar. Yes, we are not totally similar to our parents. At the same time, we are not totally similar to the siblings also. We are not totally similar to our parents. We are not similar to our sister or the brothers also, that is to our siblings also. That is what we call it as, these differences, what we call it as variations. Okay, what the differences are called as? Variations. We differ from each other, but at the same time we are similar. We don't have a tail as humans, right? We don't have a tail. Yes, we walk on two legs. Yes, we can write. This is the speciality. Again, the thumb, the placement of this thumb, this is the speciality. And these characters will get transferred from one generation to another generation. Among the humans, will get transferred. right? But at the same time, we are different. We can easily recognize each other. Yes, my sibling won't be exactly similar to me. She won't be exactly similar, or he won't be exactly similar to me in the physical appearance, as well as mentally, as well as emotionally. Many differences will be there, much differences will be there, and those differences are nothing but the variations. And that is what we are going to read in this chapter, that is the principles of inheritance and variations. That is what we are going to understand in this chapter. Okay. Further, uh, whatsoever the differences will be there, they are the variations, and they'll get transferred by means of inheritance. That is what the process of transfer of character is, the inheritance, and variations are the differences. And the study of this inheritance and variation, the scientific study of this inheritance and variation is called as genetics. What it is? The scientific study of the inheritance and the variation is called as genetics. Okay. Genetics deals with the study of a scientific study of inheritance and variations. And the term genetics was coined by Bateson. It was coined by Bateson in the year 1906. Who has coined the term genetics? It has been coined by Bateson in the year 1906. And what is this heredity? What is this genetics? It is the study of inheritance and variation. It is the study of inheritance and variation is called as genetics. The study of inheritance and variation is called as genetics, coined by Bateson in the year 1906. Okay. Now what actually this heredity is, and how exactly it will get transferred? I said that the transfer of characters from one generation to another generation is called as heredity. Now, what exactly is this heredity? Heredity is nothing but, or the transfer of characters here, it is nothing but the transfer of genes. What exactly is getting transferred? The genes are getting transferred. What is getting transferred? Genes are getting transferred from the parents to the offsprings. So, genes are getting transferred from the parents to the offsprings. Okay, and that is what the heredity is. Okay, a complete set of genes of an organism is called as genome. Okay, a complete set of gene in an organism is called as genome. Okay, heredity means the transfer of characters. In what form the characters are getting transferred? They are getting transferred in the form of genes. A complete set of gene is called as a genome. The number of genes will be in thousands. Likewise, we are having around 30,000 genes. Okay, we are having around 30,000 genes. So this complete 30,000 genes is called as a genome. A complete set is called as a genome. Now, where these genes are there? These genes are there in the DNA. Now, what exactly is DNA? That is the deoxyribonucleic acid. What exactly it is? It is a cluster of gene. It is a chain of gene. Okay, genes are there in the DNA, or genes will form the DNA. DNA is made up of genes. You might have read in your biomolecules that DNA will be consisting of base pairs, right? DNA will be consisting of base pairs. That is, adenine will bind with thymine and guanine will bind with cytosine. So this is what the base pairs are. Okay. And genes are nothing but this base pairs only. A combination of base pairs is nothing but gene. Okay. A combination of base pairs is a gene, and a number of gene will constitute the genome. Now where the genes are there? The genes are there in the DNA. Now where the DNA is there? The DNA is there in the chromosome. Now where the chromosome is there? Chromosome is there in the nucleus of the cell. Got it? So heredity is the transfer of characters, and the process of transfer of these characters is called as inheritance. That is what we are going to read. How the characters will get transferred from the parents to the offsprings means the characters will get transferred from the parents to the offsprings by means of genes. Different organisms will be having different set of genes. We the people, okay, we are having around 30,000 genes. Okay, 30,000 we are having, like that the number of genes differs. Now, the number of genes also depends upon the number of chromosomes, right? Because genes forms the DNA. DNA will be there in the chromosome. Yes, gene forms the DNA. DNA is there in the chromosome, and that is why see the number of chromosome will give depend the number of genes depends upon the number of chromosomes. As we the human beings, homo sapiens, we are having 46 chromosomes in total. That is, in 23 pairs 46 chromosomes we are having. In 23 pairs 46 chromosomes we are having. These 46 chromosomes will be having around 30,000 genes. Got it? This 46 chromosome will be having around 30,000 genes. We have read in our first year in cell cycle, we have read about these chromosomes and all. So 46 chromosomes we will be having in total, that is in 23 pairs. In pairs we are having like pair 1, pair 2, pair 3, like that we are having 46 chromosomes. Homo sapiens will be having 46 chromosomes, like that. uh, uh, Genetically related uh, like the generation, that is the apes, will be having around 48 chromosomes. They are having around 48 chromosomes. As we are having 30,000 genes in 46 chromosomes means the number of genes will be more than 30,000 in case of this 48 chromosomes. Like the apes, the orangutans, or the gorilla, in them the number of chromosome is 48. Whereas if you are going with the fruit fly means the number of chromosomes will be 8. If you are going will be 8. If you are taking the spinach means the number of chromosomes will be 12. Okay, the number of chromosomes will be 12 in spinach, whereas the number of chromosomes in the fruit fly is 8. Okay, in fruit fly, that is in the drosophila, the number of chromosome is 8. In spinach, the number of chromosome is 14. In humans, that is in homo sapiens, in we people, the number of chromosome is 46. Whereas in case of our relatives, near relatives, if we are taking, that is in case of apes we are taking, the number of chromosome is 48. Okay, whereas the largest number of chromosome, that is around 16,000 chromosome, is present in a ciliated protozoa. In a ciliated protozoa, the number of chromosomes will be around 16,000. That is what the number of chromosomes will get differ from one species to another species. And the genes are there in these chromosomes. And where the chromosomes are there, they are there in the nucleus. Okay, so these genes will get transferred from one generation to next generation. The transfer of these genes is nothing but the heredity. The transfer of this gene is nothing but heredity, and that is why we look similar to our parents. As we have 46 chromosomes, we will be transferring the same set to our children. Okay, that is, as we are sexually reproducing animals, okay, as we are sexually reproducing, that is why half from the male and half from the female. So 23 and 23, that is 46 chromosomes will get transferred to the next coming generation, and the next coming generation again will transfer the same number of genes to their generation. In that way, the transfer of genes will be there. As the transfer of genes are there, the characters will get transferred in this form, and that is nothing but the heredity what we are studying now. Okay, further see the location. The location of gene. The location of gene on a DNA is called as locus. Okay. Okay, the location of gene on a DNA is called as locus. As you people know, DNA is made up of base pairs. That is what adenine will bind with thymine and cytosine, guanine will bind with cytosine. Okay, so okay, this is our DNA. Okay, so here the base pairing will be there. If adenine is there, means here thymine will come. If cytosine is there, means here guanine will come, right? So this is what the base pairing. This base pairing will constitute the genes. So the genes are nothing but the base pairs present on the DNA, and this particular location of this gene on the DNA. So this part is called as locus. The location of the gene on the location of the gene on the DNA is called as locus. Okay, transfer of characters is called as heredity. Process is called as inheritance. Okay, process is called as inheritance. Characters are getting transferred in the sense genes are getting transferred from one generation to another generation. Genes are there in DNA. DNA is there in chromosome. Okay, so each individual or each specific species will be having specific set of chromosomes. As we are Homo sapiens, we are having around 46 chromosomes in 23 pairs. Whereas if we are taking our near relatives, apes and all, they will be having around 48 chromosomes in their cell. Each cell will be having these chromosomes. Each cell in our body will be having this set of chromosome. And the number of genes altogether in the nucleus is called as genome. The number of gene is called as genome. Okay, so transfer of these genes will be there from one generation to another generation, and that is what we are calling it as heredity processes interference. Inheritance. Okay, the next word is the variation. Variation means difference. As you people, the correct English meaning for the variation is difference. Okay, the correct is the difference. Variation means difference, right? So variation means here the difference will be there in the characters. Why the difference is there? Because of the sexual reproduction. Because of the sexual reproduction, difference will be there. As we have read in our previous chapter, that is in human reproduction, gametogenesis will be there, right? So in case of gametogenesis, by means of spermatogenesis, sperms are getting produced in case of males and ova is getting produced in case of females. Both of them will unite together to form zygote, and this is what the cell is. This will undergo multiple mitotic division. That is why the variation will be there. Because half we are getting, that is 23 chromosomes, we are getting from the male side, that is from the father, and the another 23 chromosomes will get from the mother. Father will be totally different and mother will be totally different. Because of this difference, variations will be there. And variation is the property of population, and variations should be there. It is must to remove the toxic genes from the population. It is must. Variation should be there. It is important for evolution. It is important for survival. If variations are not there, means the lethal genes will start accumulating in a population. That is why, to get rid of those lethal genes, variation should be there. Now what are these lethal genes? Everything in our body, the way we are, okay, whatsoever the health issues will be having, the congenital health issues you take, or the chromosomal aberrations will be there, all these are because of the lethal genes. Okay, so to get rid of those, variations are important. Got it? So why variations are there means half will get from the father and half set will get from the mother, and that is because there will be a difference in the set. There will be a difference in the set of chromosome. That is why the variation will be there. So variations will be there generally in the sexually reproducing organisms, whereas in case of asexual reproducing organisms, there won't be any variation. The progeny will be exactly similar to the parent. Progeny in the sense the children or the daughter cells or the offsprings, they will be exactly similar to the parent. They will be replica of their parent in case of asexual reproduction, because there is no involvement of gametes from the two different individuals. Whereas if we are going with the sexual reproducing organisms, means gametes will be there, and because of this gametes variations will be there. And that is what we are going to study, that is the principles of variations and inheritance. Okay, that is why. And again, it is very very important for the survival. Variations are important. Okay, further see, the variation will be there again because of meiosis. Okay, it is there because of meiosis. Meiosis is a type of cell division. Okay, so meiosis is a type of cell division, and again the variations will be there because of meiosis. Because see, in case of meiosis, in case of meiosis so in case of meiosis, recombination will be there. Okay, recombination will be there. See, in our first year, we have read in cell division, we have read two types of division. One is mitosis and another one is meiosis. Okay, mitosis is happening in all the somatic cells. Meiosis will be happening only in the germ cells, that is in the gamete producing cells. In gametogenesis, meiosis will be there. So in case of mitosis, if we are taking, the cell will get divided into two daughter cells, and those two daughter cells will be exactly similar to the parent cell. In case of meiosis, the cell will get divided into two daughter cells, and both the daughter cells will be exactly similar to the parent. Whereas in case of meiosis, variations will be there. In case of meiosis, variation will be there. That variation is because of the recombination happening during the meiosis. Now, what is this recombination? Recombination means the linking of the DNA, the recombination of the DNA within the cell in the gamete. Because ultimately, we have to will get evolved from a single cell. Yes, in the zygote. So recombination will be there. That is what the variation. Okay, so meiosis is the basis of variation. Whereas mitosis, again, mitosis will be there in all the somatic cells. Mitosis, no variation. The daughter cells will be exactly similar to the parent cell. Whereas from where the variation will come? The variation will come via meiosis, and that meiosis is important in the formation of gametes. Mitosis will not play any role in the formation of gametes. It will not play any role. Meiosis play a very important role in the formation of gametes. So gametes will get produced in sexually reproducing organisms. And that is why the variations will be there. That is what I said. Asexually reproducing organisms will not show the variations. Asexually reproducing organisms will be similar to their parents, because they will be reproducing by means of mitosis. Like, you can go with the binary fission also. One single cell will get divided into two. If you're going with the budding also, means again from the from a parent, one bud will get arise and it will get detached from the parent body. It is a part of the parent body only, right? That is why again their variations won't be there. Whereas variations will be there in sexually reproducing organisms, where meiosis will be there. Now, why meiosis is there? Meiosis is there for the gamete formation. Now, what is happening in sexually reproducing organisms? Male gamete, female gamete will get fused together to form the zygote. That is what fertilization. We have read much in our previous session, in our previous sessions, in section. The first section we have read about this. That zygote, then it will get multiple divisions, will have multiple divisions. Mitosis will be there in the zygote. So variations Now again, see, when variation will be there, variations will get introduced at the starting stage itself, not in the late stage, at the starting stage itself. When the gamete will be getting formed, when the zygote will be getting formed, that time only the variations will get induced. Now we can't have any variation. Now what we are, we can't change ourselves. Yes, we can try to change. Okay, environmentally, physically, we can try to change ourselves, but genetically, we can't change ourselves whatsoever. The way we look, so here in the slide, you can see, okay, the way we look, hmm, we look like our parents. We can't change that now. Yes, we can't change. So that is what the variations will get introduced at the starting stage itself. Around by the zygotic stage only the variations will get introduced. And again, variations are important. Okay, variations are very important. Further, see, see, genetically variations will be there at the starting stage of our life, before the embryonic stage. When we'll be there in the single zygotic stage, that time only the variations will be there. Okay, now we can't introduce the variation, right? We can't introduce the variation, but by means of natural selection and cross breeding, variations can be introduced. Okay, how? By means of, yes, by means of cross breeding or artificial selection, variations can be introduced. Okay, so okay, let's go with this artificial selection. Okay, artificial selection. Artificial selection, from the name itself you can make out, artificially selecting something. Yes, artificially selecting with the help of our eyes, by choosing the variations will be do, because we want the best one. That is why we'll go with the artificial selection, right? For example, if you are going to a nursery to buy a rose plant, yes, we'll go with the color, we'll go with the size of the flower, yes, we'll go with the fragrance, right? We go with the texture of the petals also. So many things we will take, and we will go with the best one only. That is what the artificial selection is. So by artificial selection, the variations can be introduced. How? By means of breeding. By means of breeding. So as I said, now we'll go to the nursery, we'll get a plant with all the best, options, with all the best characters we'll get, and in our home we'll plant it. Afterwards we'll graft it. If we want more, means we can graft from that plant itself. That is what the artificial selection, and that is what the breeding is. We will breed artificially, we will choose. See, here we are not going with the genetical selection. So that is what the artificial selection. Okay, another one is by means of cross breeding. Okay, by means of cross breeding. Cross breeding. So what we'll do, we'll go with the best one, and then we'll allow them to breed. That is what the cross breeding. For example, if we got two rose plants, one with good color and fragrance, and another one with good petals, means what can we do? We can graft them, so that what the plant we will get after grafting will have all the three essential characters what we want. That is what we'll call it as cross breeding. Okay, so see, variations will be genetical, will get transferred again from the parents. Okay, will get transferred because of recombinations and all. The variations will get actually introduced into the cell. But we can also introduce the variations by means of artificial selection and the cross breeding. We will select the best one, that is what the artificial selection, and then we'll go with the cross breeding. And again, see, these processes we are using from around thousands of years, from around 8000 to 10, from around this 8000 BC or the 1000 BC only, we know how to introduce the variation by means of sexual reproduction. So this is what the Sahiwal, this is one of the best example in case of artificial selection and the crossbreeding. It is a breed of India and Pakistan called as Sahiwal. It is the best breed, and it is mainly known for its lactation. It will give around some around 2000 liters of milk, and it is famous for its milking capacity, and it is a breed of a wild cow called as zebu. It is a breed of that wild strain. It is a wild variety zebu. So zebu has been selected to produce the sahiwal. Zebu has been selected. Actually, it is heat resistant. One important character, one beneficial character. At the same time, this cow is known for its lactation. Okay, and that is why it has been breeded. How? From where it has been breeded? From is from its wild variety. From its wild variety, wild type, that is zebu. It has been the this one is sahiwal, and his wild varieties it has got breeded from the zebu. You might again see in you might have seen different types of dogs also, different varieties of dogs. So many difference are there. Yes, the German shepherds you take, or the Pomeranians you take, or many different types are there. In case of dogs, again they are the crossbreeds only. They are, see, the German shepherd has been crossed from the foxes or from the wild hyenas. Okay, they have been crossed. Okay, so again, see, crossing should be there within the same species. Crossing should be there within the same species. Outer the species, crossing can't be done. Okay, crossing should be there within the same species, so the chromosome number will be same. Chromosome number should be the same. That is what I said. The animal will reproduce its own kind. Okay, that is what I said. Okay, that is what the artificial selection and the crossbreeding. And our ancestor knows this. Our ancestor knows this, how to improve the breed by introducing the artificial selection and crossbreeding by means of sexual prediction. Our ancestors were knowing all this, how to exploit the varieties. They were knowing already from around 1000 BC only. They were knowing about this, but they were not knowing about the genetical aspect. How the genetics is involved in this, they were not knowing. But artificial selection, crossbreeding, and all, they were knowing. And like this only, many different types of domesticated animals has been crossbred. Even the chickens has been crossbred. Okay, and then the pet animals, if we are taking the the dogs and cats, has been crossbred for the commercial utilization. Okay, so in this chapter, we'll be studying about the inheritance, variations, okay, and the transfer of characters from the parents to the genes, how they'll get transferred. So this is about the introduction class. In our next class, we'll be going with the Mendelian work. Okay, thank you.